Let's go over to flipping now. Abuja, we've got another matter in the burner. Markwe.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. Just a moment here. I am, beg your pardon. Thank you so much, Chamberlain. I have with me in the studio Professor Umaru Dambata, who is Executive Vice Chairman of the National Communications Commission, the NCC, and we'll be discussing the state of the networks in recent times. You're welcome to Sunrise TV.
Thank you very much.
Well, there has been some issues with networks in recent times. People have been complaining of the poor quality of calls and even connections. What precisely is going on?
Well, we noticed deterioration in quality of service at the tail end of 2016, specifically in the month of October, November, and December. As you are aware, we have capacity to monitor. We have the mechanism for monitoring the quality of service, and we can actually measure. Some of the key performance indicators that Nigerians are conversant with are normally two: the call drop rate, as well as the call success setup rate. So we found, if you like, unacceptable degradation in these two, parameters characterizing quality of service. We have since engaged the operators, and this coupled with the anecdotal complaints we received, from consumers, so there is a convergence between what we measured, through our, systems, within the commission, as well as the multitude of complaints, we received during that period.
It is interesting. Usually towards the end of the year, people always assume that, calls will drop, or, the network connections might not be as excellent as they were maybe sometime before the end of the year, perhaps because of a huge amounts of traffic, people coming into the country for celebrations, and then lots of goodwill messages going out about that time. So in some instances, people tend to excuse those kinds of, those kinds of scenarios. Yeah. But it would seem that that has lingered on into the new year, and it has even gotten worse.
Well, we are, like I said, we have drawn conclusions, and this pointed to the fact that indeed quality of service has deteriorated during the tail end of 2016, and we have these measurements, to buttress this fact, which we conducted, and therefore we are equally monitoring those same parameters for the first quarter of this year. While we're doing that, we have since engaged the operators and told them unequivocally that quality of service must improve. We have read the right act to them at a meeting in the commission. All the operators were there. We've listened, listened to their challenges, that conspired to degrade the quality of service.
What time did this meeting hold?
I think it is. It was sometimes, last month. In not much in February. Yes.
In February.
Yeah.
So, what time did you notice that the quality of calls were dropping?
Like I said, this trend started in the, at the tail end of 2016, specifically in the months of October, November, and definitely in December. Okay, so we have seen what happened. It's not acceptable. The call drop rate, was below the stipulated standard. The call success setup rate is equally not acceptable. On the basis of measurements we conducted, and this has, if you like, tallied with anecdotal complaints we have been receiving from consumers. So consumers have been proved right through measurements we have conducted, scientifically, and actions, have been taken. We are going to do a check in the first quarter of this year, month of, January, February, and March. In fact, this is going on. If we do not see improvement in quality of service, then we intend to take, the next, stage of action.
So what precisely in the finding of the NCC was the reason for the deterioration in quality of service?
Or multitude of complaints, or multitude of issues, sorry. One, we have what we call practice that are technical and practice that are non-technical. Among the non-technical factors, we encountered or we noticed is fiber cuts, community issues, okay, challenges for deployment of additional infrastructure in order to build capacity and enhance quality of service, unsteady electricity supply, unstable electricity supply, non-availability of electricity supply. We have noticed, intensification in the vandalization of telecommunications infrastructure. All these issues conspired to degrade quality of service. But there are other factors. We notice capacity, lack of capacity in infrastructure. And even though plans are underway to improve this capacity, but the volume, the sheer volume of traffic, that the networks are having to contend with, additional services that are being hosted on the networks, are all conspiring to degrade quality of service.
Professor, people are going to say that these are the usual complaints. We've had this complaint before now. The network operators knew under what circumstances, under what operating environment they were going to be doing their business. Electricity has never been constant when they started their business. So that cannot be, there is no new reason here from what we've seen in terms of what's responsible for the sudden drop in quality of calls.
No, we have new reasons. Electricity supply is closely tied to quality of service. All the network operators, all the network infrastructure requires electricity supply on a daily basis, and 24 hours, 7 days a week.
But they have never relied on the discos and the gencos. They have always done their own independent power production. Well,
there are challenges of, getting diesel, at times, of the year, especially during the festivity, season period of the year. And we have, like I said, in order to address this issue of, electricity supply, to base transceiver stations, suggested to the network operators to look for alternative ways of powering their base transceiver, stations. We can resort to solar energy, that will require, of course, additional investment, but that will be a solution to lack of electricity supply to power.
Professor, I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt you again. We'll have to take a moment now. When we return, we will talk about the state of the telecom companies themselves.
Okay.
In just a moment. Do stay with us.